morning once again from the International Space Station Flight Control Room here at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, and the resumption of our coverage of the SpaceX Dragon resupply ship's arrival at the International Outpost. We are back on the air a few minutes earlier than originally planned to cover the installation of Dragon to the Earth-facing port of the Harmony module of the International Space Station. That operation is running several minutes ahead of schedule, all supervised by the robo here in Mission Control, the robotics ground controller, who is watching over the maneuver from the grapple position of Dragon to the installation position, with Dragon just a few inches away, actually, from the berthing interface on a common berthing mechanism, which is basically a berthing port on the nadir or Earth-facing side of the Harmony module, to which the Dragon will be installed, bolted into place with a series of 16 bolts, and where it will reside for the next month. You're looking at Flight Director Zeb Scoville in the middle of your screen with the glasses. To his right is astronaut Mike Hopkins, who has been here throughout the course of the overnight hours on this Orbit 1 shift, talking directly with the crew on board the International Space Station. Flight Director Mary Lawrence is at the bottom of your screen. She's come on console as preparations are underway for a shift handover that will take place in the next 30 minutes. She'll preside over the Orbit 2 team that will be in charge of watching over the crew as they conduct leak checks at the interface between Dragon and the Harmony module, to which it is soon to be installed and bolted into place. The crew will also outfit the small passageway or vestibule between Harmony and the International Space Station, and then the hatches are scheduled to be opened early this afternoon. The hatch to Dragon will be open, and the crew will begin the process of removing the highest priority science investigations that have been aboard Dragon since its launch from the Kennedy Space Center and Launch Pad 39A back on Sunday. Dragon is delivering about 5,500 pounds of science and research, crew supplies and vehicle hardware, also some time-sensitive science experiments that will be the first to be unloaded and to begin their operational period on board the International Space Station. At the moment, the station is currently orbiting 250 miles above the South Pacific, moving from southwest to northeast in an orbit inclined 51.6 degrees to either side of the equator. Two hours ago at 4:44 a.m. Central Time, the Dragon completed its extended rendezvous to the International Space Station, arriving for a position directly underneath the station along what is called the radial vector. Dragon steady as a rock, all of its systems in excellent shape following a one-day re-rendezvous that was required because of a navigational glitch that caused an abort to yesterday's rendezvous effort. This time, all systems were go. Thomas Pesquet and Shane Kimbrough, operating the station's Canadarm2 robotic arm from the Cupola robotic workstation, moved the arm in and grappled Dragon at 4:44 a.m. Central Time, 5:44 a.m. Eastern Time, as Dragon and the station flew 250 miles over northwest Australia. And at the moment, you're looking now at a picture, a live view of the SpaceX Dragon cargo craft as it is carefully being maneuvered and aligned to the proper position at the common berthing mechanism on the Earth-facing port of the Harmony module. The robotics officer in Mission Control and the mechanical systems officer here in Mission Control will provide a report to Flight Director Zeb Scoville as to how we're progressing as we move into the home stretch of the installation procedure that is going to provide a ready-to-latch indication on 3 ready-to-latch sensors at that common berthing mechanism interface. At that point, Dragon will be ready to be bolted into place. Again, there are 4 gangs of 4 bolts apiece, 16 bolts in all, that will firmly lock Dragon to the Earth-facing port of Harmony and provide an opportunity thereafter for the crew to provide leak checks inside the space station to make sure we have an airtight seal before work continues to open the hatch to Dragon later today. As you can see, Dragon is now almost kissing the interface of the common berthing mechanism to the nadir port of the Harmony module, to which it will reside for the next month once it is bolted into place. While Dragon was conducting its rendezvous and capture earlier this morning, the Russian unpiloted Progress 66 resupply craft was flying smoothly on, ready for its arrival at the International Space Station tomorrow. A little over 24 hours ago, Progress was launched atop a Soyuz booster from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. All of Progress's systems are in excellent shape, and all the reports from the Russian Mission Control Center outside Moscow indicate that they have a solid spacecraft as well, ready to arrive at the International Space Station early Friday morning, with docking to the Pirs docking compartment on the Earth-facing side of the Russian segment of the station, scheduled at 2:34 a.m. Central Time on Friday morning. Again, we should be hearing shortly, after a short period, to align the Dragon's berthing mechanism with the Harmony berthing mechanism. We should be hearing shortly that we're getting ready to latch indicators. That would be the penultimate step toward the start of the bolting of Dragon in place to the Harmony module. This high-definition view of Dragon, a spectacular view, as it is about to be berthed to the Earth-facing port of the Harmony module. You can see very prominently in view the Kibo module, the Japanese laboratory, the largest module on the International Space Station, and all of its various components. And at the very top of your screen with the ESA logo, that's part of the European Space Agency's Columbus module, all part of the U.S. segment of the International Space Station. Here in the flight control room in Houston, the robotics officer, Ian Mills, has informed Flight Director Zeb Scoville that they are ready for the final maneuver, the final commanding of the robotic arm that will push the Dragon spacecraft into what is called the RTL, or ready to latch position. Again, these are a series of 3 sensors that will sense the position of the berthing mechanism of the Dragon spacecraft in relation to the comparable berthing mechanism on the Harmony module's berthing port, so that the bolting of the vehicle can begin. That operation is commanded by the Operations and Support Officer, better known as a Mechanical Systems Officer, here in Mission Control. Dragon and the International Space Station are flying into an orbital sunrise over the eastern Pacific Ocean, soon to cross the west coast of Central America at the border between Guatemala and Mexico. And the Mechanical Systems Officer here in Mission Control reports that we have good ready-to-latch indicators. So this is the precursor to the start of the actual operation to send commands to drive the bolts, 4 gangs of 4 bolts apiece. There are several phases to this bolting operation. You'll hear a first stage capture call, followed by a second stage capture call. The second stage capture is what is officially considered the hard mate, if you will, or the technical latching of the Dragon spacecraft to the International Space Station. Once again, like everything else throughout the course of the overnight hours, the grapple of the Dragon spacecraft and its performance in the re-rendezvous to put itself in a position to be captured by robotic arm operators Thomas Pesquet and Station Commander Shane Kimbrough at 4:44 a.m. Central Time this morning. Everything has been very fluid. Everything has been very smooth. No issues reported whatsoever with the rendezvous, with the capture, with the performance of Dragon, and now with the robotic ground-controlled maneuver of Dragon to its installation position. Good ready-to-latch indicators, and we soon will be hearing on the flight loop, and we'll report to you the initiation of the bolting of Dragon in place, its permanent home for the next 30 days. We are putting the station's robotic arm in what is known as limp mode. That basically is a command that is designed to eliminate any inadvertent motion by the arm that would perturbate the initiation of the bolting of Dragon in place at the Earth-facing port of the Harmony module. It should be just a matter of moments now before we start hearing the calls on the initiation of the bolting of Dragon in place. Once again, the bolting of Dragon into place on the Earth-facing port of the Harmony module is underway. We're standing by to hear from the mechanical systems officer that the first phase of the bolting process has been completed. The International Space Station is crossing the west coast of Florida at this hour, and within minutes we'll be passing directly over the Kennedy Space Center and Launch Pad 39A, where Dragon was launched from back on Sunday morning atop a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. While the bolting of Dragon into place continues, the crew inside the International Space Station, most particularly the USOS, or U.S. Orbital Segment crew members, Station Commander Shane Kimbrough, NASA's Peggy Whitson, and European Space Agency astronaut Thomas Pesquet, are reviewing plans for the rest of the day's activities, which will be highlighted by the outfitting of the vestibule, the small passageway between Harmony and the Dragon at the berthing interface. That will be followed early this afternoon by the opening of the hatch to Dragon and the beginning of a carefully choreographed removal of high priority science payloads that will begin their investigative period on board the International Space Station. This is Mission Control Houston. The mechanical systems officer here in Mission Control has now confirmed second stage capture. Dragon is now bolted into place on the Earth-facing side of the Harmony module of the International Space Station, a permanent fixture for the next 30 days. Second stage capture confirmed at 7:12 a.m. Central Time, 8:12 a.m. Eastern Time, as the International Space Station flew over the Atlantic Ocean parallel to the east coast of the United States. Again, second stage capture confirmed and installation confirmed of the Dragon resupply ship launched by SpaceX from the Kennedy Space Center on Saturday. Second stage capture confirmed at 7:12 a.m. Central Time, 8:12 a.m. Eastern Time, completing what today was a flawless re-rendezvous of the Dragon spacecraft after an aborted rendezvous attempt on Wednesday. Today was smooth sailing all the way along, a perfect vehicle for SpaceX as it arrived right on time directly underneath the International Space Station, and through a carefully choreographed series of engine firings moved its way towards the grapple position, with capture by the Canadarm2 robotic arm under the control of Thomas Pesquet and Shane Kimbrough occurring at 4:44 a.m. Central, 5:44 a.m. Eastern Time. So Dragon is now firmly attached to the International Space Station. The crew will now begin the process of working through the procedures to get to the point where they can open the hatch to Dragon this afternoon and to begin to unload its critical science payloads and other supply items carried on board some 5,500 pounds of supplies. With that, we'll wrap up our coverage of the arrival of Dragon at the International Space Station. One programming note, we're not done yet with resupply vehicles. A Russian Progress 66 resupply craft is en route in great shape for an arrival tomorrow, Friday morning, at the International Space Station. Our coverage on NASA TV of the Progress 66 docking will begin at 1:45 a.m. Central Time, 2:45 a.m. Eastern Time. Docking is scheduled at 2:34 a.m. Central Time, 3:34 a.m. Eastern Time. So please join us again tomorrow morning for the arrival of the Progress 66 cargo ship at the International Space Station. For now, we'll wrap up our coverage. Have a great day. This is Mission Control Houston.